Hello, everyone. My name is Nguyen. I'm one of the lecturers here. I don't have a ton to say that's not going to be redundant from what you've already heard today. One of the things I've been doing this past few weeks is, along with my colleagues, we've been trying to gather as many transportation-related data sets as we can. And there's not actually a lot out there, as we've just talked about, but we do see value in, first of all, putting it all together. And I know a lot of you have probably seen like data.gov and whatnot, which is great. I mean, it's better than nothing, but even big portals of lots of data is not that helpful. Sometimes you can have too much information. So we've been trying to go about collecting what we think is interesting. I know for my classes, it's useful to have something that connects to real life. That's not just like, oh, here's, you'll find all kinds of numbers that seem interesting, but as a panelist said before, either the numbers are truncated, there's something missing from them, and so it does take a little digging to find the kind of public stuff that's really interesting. The New York taxi data set's one of the I think more well-known things related to cars, and this actually, well, first, this is Hurricane Irene from 2011. So what the Taxi Commission does upon a FOIL request is what you do is you send them a hard drive. I think it has to be at least 1 terabyte. And actually, they're quite fast. They'll send you back all the records that they have within the next few days. So this is from 2011. I think this is just like the day of when that hurricane came in, and it wasn't too terrible of a hurricane, but this compared to that is a little bit different. I think this is the day after the hurricane. And so this is just what they have is a straight up spreadsheet with latitude, longitude, things like how much the driver was tipped, how many people were in the car, and of course where and when people were picked up. And so this is just a map of where people where that all happened in relation to that date. So I'm trying to get used to this display here. Let's see, should have that. In relation to today, I was kind of interested in seeing, Obama's been in New York a couple of times. This is, I think, from 2011. He was doing a fundraiser at the Waldorf Astoria. And so on the left is where, this resolution's a little funny. On the left is, I think, is when he showed up into town to do his fundraiser, and on the right over here is where what that traffic looked like on a normal week. And it's actually, I was actually kind of surprised. I thought you'd see a lot more emptiness because of, I mean, as you guys have all seen today, just how much that can disrupt traffic. I think in terms of number of cabs that picked people up within this 5-hour time span, I think it was only off by a couple of thousand. Up here this is Hurricane Irene from 2011. This is a normal, this was a week before, I think, normal Sunday morning. And then on the right is where, I apologize for things being a little off screen. On the right is where things looked like when the mayor ordered everything closed down. And then this is Hurricane Sandy from 2012. This was around a few hours when the storm hit and the power went out. On the right is a week later, November 5th, after finally they got power back up, and now this is kind of what normal taxi traffic looks like on a 6-hour day or 6-hour period. So one of the reasons why it's such interesting data is because there's a lot of it. What we were able to, some of you have probably seen a couple of, or many interactives based on the 2013 data. Before I left New York, I was able to was able to send them a hard drive, and so I got their 2008 to 2013. And so this is one of the examples of the things that we're putting out there. I mean, it's not, again, it was public information, but what's funny is that the original guy who looked it up sometime last year, he got it, he made some really cool interactives, like showing how, back then the data set included the identity of the driver, so you could track where the driver was on any part of the day, like who made the most money, who took the longest lunch breaks. And it wasn't actually, that wasn't supposed to be part of the data set, so by the time I got this, they actually took out all the private driver information. Nonetheless, it's still pretty interesting. I think I did one graph earlier today. This is actually, Chris Wong, the guy who originally foiled the data a year ago, he only got 2013, so this goes back to 2008. And the light green is the number of times people paid in cash for their rides, and in the red is the credit cards. And so as you see, this is kind of just a little map of how New Yorkers got used to doing everything by plastic. And a lot of things to like about this data set, one of them being that it was just out there, and I'd always wanted to see it ever since I lived in New York. I mean, I really wanted to know how much I was supposed to tip someone. And everyone has their different opinions. I kind of just, they give you a computer screen with 3 buttons, 25, 30, and 35, and I usually just do 25. I think if you actually look at the data, it ends up being like 10 to 15% usually. And so I wish I'd known that like 5 years ago. But it is really, so I wish I'd known about this data set a long time ago. I wish I knew it was just something that you could just email the TLC and you'd get it. And so what we're trying to do is make a collection of things that we found interesting to analyze, and we're kind of at the start of it. There's actually, we do have more, but part of the website got funky this morning, and so just have a few things, and plus a longer list of things that we're still categorizing. Tableau was very kind to do an interactive for us. This has been a data set, this bridge inventory that's been used, of course, in several investigation stories, especially usually after when a bridge falls. And what we'd like to do is, again, raise attention to what's out there. The way that I see things, at least, is that if you're able to access this kind of data, if you're comfortable with it, if you even just know about it, you have the ability to at least prevent things. You have the ability, I believe all these red dots are bridges that are at the lowest sufficiency rating, which doesn't mean that they're about to fall, but by someone's standard, they're a little dangerous, and yet they're taking hundreds of thousands of vehicles a day, and it's interesting because you think that the best data sets are something that people try to hide, but usually the thing about data is that it's pretty boring to most people, especially to the people who collect it, and sometimes it's just an act of knowing, and so we're hoping to kind of be a sort of filter for that, for not just journalists, but for anyone in the public sphere. There are certain data sets that will never really be public, including private driving habits and whatnot, but we'd like to kind of set a kind of example of showing what's possible, what can be done. I mean, the public information is always a matter of setting precedent and helping people, not take for granted what the kind of freedom of information that our laws allow us. So yeah, I don't think we have much more to say. Oh, the URL, it's datadrivenstanford.org, because I like the alliteration there a little bit better. Sorry, still keep looking at the wrong screen. And so, yeah, we have a lot of the data sets that people have talked about. I've tried to cover things that are also related, including the EPA air quality data. They have data going back to 1990 in terms of every hour what their sensors have read every day. I mean, this data is actually smaller than the taxi information, but it's big enough that once you know what's out there, once you're able to put it into what we've been using is Google's BigQuery. But yes, our hope is to find kind of the most, to do the part of discovery for people, and hopefully it's something that gets spread around. And of course, we're very interested in hearing from people about what data sets they may know that we don't. But yeah, I think that's all I have to say. Yeah? It is in the process of being live. There's stuff on it. There's not as much as, there's more to be put on it, but not everything that we'd like. But yes, URL right now is data-driven Stanford and .org, and so thanks.